Alex.
Oh, yeah.
I mean,
I'm right there with
he
you.
literally sounds like someone who is broken out of the insane asylum. Like, he just be all over the place. Like, get him some ADHD medicine, if nothing else, because I don't know where he's ever going to go. And I don't think that those that have gone through West Point expected to have their commander-in-chief address them and start talking about trophy wives or start talking about how he had so many investigations. What a great reminder that you are not qualified to be the person that potentially will command us as troops to go into war. Like, that is not instilling confidence whatsoever. And honestly, our troops deserve better. Our graduates deserve better. We as a country deserve better. And frankly, if we are going to ever be seen as the world leaders that we historically have been, the world deserves better. It is time for Republicans to start calling him out and start questioning his mental acuity and whether or not he is equipped to serve mentally. We know when it comes down to his criminality, he is not qualified to serve. But this is just absolutely deplorable.
Jasmine Crockett, I love her. Mm-hmm. She is amazing.
Yeah.
I think that people want to see somebody who fights and calls out the bullshit, ultimately. I think that's what Jasmine does, and we need a hell of a lot more people that are out there that are willing to do just that and call people out on their BS and not say, oh my God, Republicans are going to criticize me for saying this. Screw that. They're going to criticize you no matter what. So what we should be asking ourselves is, what are we really fighting for? Yeah. Because we know it matters. And I think Jasmine is frankly the type of leader that we're really looking to support in some senses, right? Somebody who is out there that frankly doesn't give a damn what the other side, at least the elected Republicans in Congress say what they believe in. And at least, even if you don't agree with her, you know what she stands for. Yeah. Because she makes it very clear. And people are really craving that right now. They don't want more politicians that say talking points that it doesn't even feel like they believe, or you don't even really know what they mean. They want somebody who's out there that says what they believe and doesn't care what somebody else thinks about it. They want that authenticity.
Boy. So we got to talk about the Democrat Party, a party that is currently in a state of free fall. Their approval rating is in the tank. There are not many entities in this country outside of mainstream liberal media that are as unpopular as the Democrat Party is right now. And I think part of the reason why is because the Democrat Party has become a party of radical progressives. Okay, they've essentially taken over the party. Okay, and they're now demanding leadership positions. Like, for example, Jasmine Crockett, the Ghetto Democrat, who David Hogg likes, by the way, he likes a lot, right? He believes that Jasmine Crockett is the future of the Democrat Party. They need more Democrats like Jasmine Crockett, right? So, David Hogg currently being kicked out of the DNC for wanting to primary Democrats who aren't woke enough. Well, yeah, he's telling you exactly who he wants to replace those Democrats with, right? He wants a party full of Jasmine Crockett's, right? That is what, again, people like David Hogg want. But yeah, Jasmine Crockett, she is vying for a leadership position within the Democrat Party, and she's taking advantage of the fact that Gerald Connolly has died, right? Who is a Democrat. He had a leadership position on the oversight committee. I covered this story not too long ago about how he defeated AOC in the election to become a leader on oversight. And that was kind of controversial because it looked like AOC was actually going to win until Nancy Pelosi personally stepped in from the hospital beds of Europe after she broke her hip in order to rally enough votes for Gerald Connolly to defeat AOC. Okay, and this was despite the fact that Gerald Connolly was dying. Okay, that Gerald Connolly was old and they had cancer, and they didn't care, right? Like, we'd much rather have an old guy, okay, that's dying in that spot rather than AOC. Okay, and that is a part of the Democrat Party civil war. That now you have progressives like, for example, Jasmine Crockett taking advantage of the fact that Jerry Connolly has died and that leadership position is now open by coming out and making a pitch to the lunatics of the Democrat Party about how if she was leader of oversight, she would use her position of power to investigate Trump, right? To launch witch hunts and investigations against President Trump. Because, again, this is the only thing that Democrats have to offer the American people, right? This is what they're trying to make the midterms about. Take a look.
Do you think they're going to push for investigations into Trump's family and the whole crypto acquisitions that he is getting?
Well, Alex, I'm glad you asked.
Here we go.
Listen, so long as we end up taking the House, which I fully anticipate that we will do, and we are going to work hard to obviously help our Senate colleagues as well, then as someone who serves on the Oversight Committee and hopes to lead the Oversight Committee, I can guarantee you that we will do what we are supposed to do as constitutionally sworn members of the House, which means that we will conduct oversight. That means that we will investigate. We will look at whether or not this president himself has violated the emoluments clause as it relates to, say, such things as getting a $400 million plane from the Qataris. We also will make sure that we're looking into all these business deals that they have going on. I mean, think about it this way, Alex. They were going after Hunter because he sat on a board. Think about how much money they are raking in, whether we're talking about the next golf resort that they're setting up in Qatar, or whether we're talking about them leveling Gaza, as they've talked about, and talked about how it would be great beachfront property, whether we're talking about this crypto scam, the scam that people didn't even want to walk into and show their faces. Let me tell you, there is no shortage of things for us to dig into and determine whether or not there have been not only violations of the law, but definitely violations of our Constitution as a whole.
Did you make a little news here? Didn't you say you hope to lead that committee?
I absolutely do. Unfortunately, we are going to lay our dear colleague, Jerry Conley, to rest here on Tuesday. And there will have to be an election to determine who is going to lead the Oversight Committee. And ultimately, I am hoping and praying that my colleagues see that I can provide what we need as a team to make sure that we can move forward and instill some confidence in the American people by knowing that they have a real fighter who will not back down, even in the face of all the threats that I will have waged at me, because Lord knows I get death threats every single day. But at the end of the day, I truly believe that God will never leave my side. And so I will fight fearlessly and ferociously for the American people.
Yeah, I wouldn't say that you're fighting for the American people when you are fighting against the agenda that the American people voted for. Like, for example, the mass deportations. We all know how much Jasmine Crockett loves the illegals because she wants the illegals to pick her cotton, right? So with that being said, Jasmine Crockett has essentially announced that she wants a leadership position on oversight, right? She wants to be the leader of the Democrats in the House Oversight Committee. And this is a great thing, right? This is an absolutely great thing that Democrats are, potentially making their lunatics, the freaks, the weirdos like the Jasmine Crockett's of the world, their leader. And the reason why I say this is because it essentially guarantees that Democrats are not going to accomplish what they know they need to do in order to be competitive in elections again, which is to win back male voters. In fact, you have Democrats gathering in luxury hotels to discuss spending $20 million on a plan for speaking with American men. So that's what they're doing, right? They're essentially meeting together and coming up with these like think tanks, okay, these ideas on how to gain back male voters, particularly white male voters, right? That's who they're really trying to get back, and probably the Hispanics as well too. But yeah, this is what they're worried about. Okay, they're worried about the male voter. So if you're worried about the male voter, then having a person like Jasmine Crockett as the leader of your party to talk trash to white men, which she does quite a bit, right, on national television, yeah, that's probably not going to help you out, right? That's probably not going to work out in your favor, okay? So yeah, spend that money, right? Burn that money on fire, because if you're spending all this money to figure out how to win back men, but then you have people like Jasmine Crockett in leadership positions within your party who routinely trashes white men, right, and white people, then yeah, I mean, it's just going to be a disaster. It's going to be a disaster. So, hey, I think this is great news, okay, that Jasmine Crockett wants a leadership position. She wants to be the face of the Democrat Party. That is awesome, okay, because the last so-called woman of color that they tried to make the face of their party, yeah, she turned off a lot of men, okay, and she is still showing the American people why is it that we rejected her last November.
As I said, I think your best work is ahead of you for sure, 100%.
I am unemployed right now. No one must speak truth. When you have the ability to understand the context in which you live the context in which others live, you're more likely to then connect with them and understand what's important to them. But if you are in an interaction where you don't have that level of awareness, they will be aware of that. I mean, this is the thing that I've also known about life, and I'm sure everyone here understands. The vast majority of human beings are very intelligent, regardless of their education level, regardless of where they're from, and intelligent enough to know whether when you are looking at them, you are looking at them with a level of respect. They will know that you are someone who is actually interested in their life and their reality and their fears and their dreams, or not. They will know if you are looking at them as a commodity, if you are looking at them as a point on the board, as contrasted with looking at them with some concern about whether you can actually improve their life. And that's important, but it requires you to be self-aware enough to understand that you may not understand their life.
Yes.
And then do some work to figure out how you can understand it better.
Yeah, so that is Kamala Harris going into one of her classic word salads, basically unknowingly explaining why is it that she lost, right? Which is that, yeah, she saw voters as a commodity, and voters knew that she saw her as a commodity, okay, and that voters aren't as dumb as Democrats think, even though, hey, there are a lot of people on the left, in which I have questions about, right? But I'm just saying that Kamala Harris, again, is one of these individuals that is responsible for the fact that Democrats have lost male voters, okay? So her, along with Jasmine Crockett, are reasons why Democrats are struggling, but yet the voters of the Democrat Party, the actual base of the Democrat Party, these are the type of Democrats that they want, right, to lead the party, okay? In fact, recent polling shows that AOC is the face of the Democrat Party, right? That, again, these type of radical women are what the Democrat Party, this is what they're embracing going into the midterms and going into 2028, which I think personally is going to be an absolute disaster.
Who is the next generation of the Democratic Party? Semaphore is reporting that at least a half dozen senators are now viewed as potential 2028 candidates by their colleagues and top Democrats on Capitol Hill. It's a lot of folks. Semaphore is calling it a potential presidential primary dogpile in 2028. Joining us now, Phil Bump and Peter Baker, who are still with us. All right, so Phil, let's talk about the field and what the field might need to consider. You've got some polling on what costs the Democrats in 2024. Lay it out.
Yeah, I mean, I think the way you framed it as being the next generation, I think is really important. One of the things that we saw in 2024 is we saw this decline in support for the Democratic candidate among younger voters in particular. Part of that, I think, is just that younger voters don't recognize the exception that Donald Trump is within our political system. But part of it is just that the Democrats have actually lost ground, particularly among young men and particularly young men of color. We've also seen polling that suggests that there's been sort of some reversion, that some of that support for Trump has probably been fallen back over the course of the first couple months of his presidency.
That's a lie. In fact, CNN has released a poll basically showing that if the election was held today, that Trump will win by probably a little bit more than he won in November. So again, this is just a flat out lie to say, well, Trump has lost support or whatever. That's actually just not true at all.
So we're sort of in uncertain territory, but the Democratic Party has for a long time now been more subject to the whims of young people because young people are more likely to vote for Democrats than they are for Republicans. And so the Democratic Party has to be very attentive to this. And so I think that a candidate who's able to effectively argue to young people that they are the vision, that they are the way forward for the country, I think that person's probably going to have more luck as a general election candidate. The question, of course, is, are those young people going to vote in the primary and therefore help get that person on the ticket in the first place?
I think let's bring in somebody from the party, former New York congressman and former DOJ staffer, Mondaire Jones. Mondaire, it's good to have you. Welcome to the show.
Good to be here.
The new generation of the Democratic Party, the next generation of the Democratic Party, what do they need to keep in mind?
Well, what they need to keep in mind is that we've got a whole election coming up in 2026. That is of existential importance, especially if people want to do something to rein in the excesses and the illegalities and the corruption of this current presidential administration. So we have to keep our eyes on the prize when it comes to that. And then, of course, if we're fortunate enough in this country to still have free and fair elections, a 2028 presidential election will take place. I don't think that, the so-called Biden cover-up is going to be prominent in 2028. I think there are going to be a lot of things on the minds of voters, but it is important, of course, for people to be honest about what happened in 2024.
Well, let's leave Biden out of it for a second and just focus on messaging. There's a debate within the Democratic Party whether they should lean more progressive. And there's polling numbers out today suggesting that the face of the Democratic Party by far is AOC, obviously on the progressive bent, or if they should go back and hew toward more of a middle ground. I wonder where, you've run elections, you've won elections. Yeah. Where do you stand on where the future is, what the path is?
Well, I think, first of all, that the reason AOC is so popular compared to many other figures in the Democratic Party is not because people view her to be progressive, so to speak. It's because they see her standing up to Elon Musk and Donald Trump at a time when people, not just Democrats, but independents and some disaffected Republicans alike are saying, who the hell is going to at least try to stop these people from doing what they've been doing when it comes to tanking the economy, taking away fundamental freedoms, and so on and so forth. And you see her when she's out there talking about a message that sounds in economic populism. She's not out here using the word progressive, frankly. And a lot of members of the Congressional Progressive Caucus haven't been using that word very recently either.
So it's an ugly word now?
Look, I think it's a word, sadly, that has been co-opted by some of the more extreme members. Many of them don't even identify as Democrats and the far left of American politics. But what everyone can get behind is the fact that we need an economy that works for everyone. That is a bold economic agenda. So if Bernie Sanders and AOC are out there talking about it the way, Chris Deluzio in Pennsylvania and other moderates are, then that's a good thing. And that's unifying for the party.
Yeah. So you see that, you heard that. Okay. AOC apparently is the face of the Democrat Party, according to the voters. This is what the base wants. And if that is what the base wants, it's going to put Democrats in a very bad situation because they know they need to win back young men, right? They need to win back young men. And they're not going to win back young men with AOC's, Kamala Harris's, Jasmine Crockett's, the freaks, the lunatics, right? Like, you're not going to win over men with that lineup, right? It's just not going to happen. It's just not going to happen. I just don't see a world in which a majority of men are going to vote for somebody like AOC, right? Because at this point, it looks like the Democrat ticket, right, in 2028 is going to be something like a Kamala AOC ticket, right? That's what it's going to be. Or an AOC Pete Buttigieg or a Kamala Pete Buttigieg type thing. Again, they don't have any strong masculine leadership. Again, the most masculine male leader that I think Democrats have that is a actual major contender may be Gavin Newsom, maybe. And that guy is a complete and total slime ball, right? Outside of him, who's next up? Maybe, I don't know, Pete Buttigieg, which again doesn't say a lot considering how, he is not straight. But, I'm just saying that when it comes to masculine male leadership, Democrats are severely missing that. And their voters don't want it, right? That's the crazy part about it. Their voters don't want it. And as long as the base of the party doesn't want it, then they're cooked. They're 100% cooked. Another thing I want to address that this guy said is that, Biden's, the cover up of his mental decline, that's not going to matter. And I'm like, no, it is going to matter. It's 100% going to matter. It is a question that will be asked during the Democrat primary. And the reason why is because it's a credibility issue, right? If you can't be straight with me about the president of the United States being in mental decline, then how can I believe you when it comes to anything else, right? That is something that Democrats are going to have to deal with sooner rather than later. It's better for them to deal with it sooner and to come out and tell the truth and just say that, hey, yeah, we covered up Biden's mental decline because we didn't want Trump to win. Just tell the truth rather than the lying, because the lying means that it's just going to drag on and drag on and drag on. And I guarantee you it will be an issue. It definitely will be a question that will be asked that people will want an answer to during the Democrat primary and during the general election in 2028. The Biden issue is not going away, right? As much as they wanted to go away, it's not going away, okay? Which I think is probably why MSNBC tried to kind of like move on past that. Hey, let's not talk about that right now, right? We don't talk about Biden's cover up here on this network. So, like I said, the point of this video is that, hey, I think it's a great thing that people like Jasmine Crockett are trying to become leaders of the party, because that makes it harder for them to win, right? Can you imagine Democrats winning over male voters, or again, white male voters, with people like AOC and Jasmine Crockett and Ilhan Omar and Rashida Tlaib and the Ayanna Presleys, the Sarah McBrides, right? I mean, you're getting everybody, okay? You're getting everybody when you have the AOCs of the world leading the party. And I just don't think that is an attractive thing for the American people. I just don't see the American people ever embracing that at the national level. I just don't see it. I just think that it's damn near impossible. But who knows, right? Who knows? I'm just saying that with the current state of the Democrat Party and the direction it looks like it's going in, they're not going to be winning back men. Also, on top of that, to respond to Jasmine Crockett, I don't think it's a good idea to make the midterms about trying to investigate Trump. If they want to make the midterms about investigating Trump, impeaching Trump, launching witch hunts against President Trump, that's also not going to work out well for them, because it's already likely the Democrats are going to lose the Senate, right? Republicans are definitely going to keep the Senate. The House, if they want to make the midterms about impeaching Trump, okay, the witch hunts or whatever, then you're just going to motivate people to come out and vote, right? Because you're putting Trump on the ballot. And when Democrats put Trump on the ballot, when Trump is on the ballot, that's not a good thing, right? For Democrats, right? It doesn't work out in their favor. That's what people like Jasmine Crockett are too stupid to realize, which is why she's the perfect leader for the Democrat Party. She's so dumb, she doesn't understand political strategy. There's a reason why Democrats are backing away from trying to impeach Trump. They don't want to make their followers believe that they can actually get rid of Trump, right? They don't want to set the standard so high that they're like, oh, if you don't get rid of Trump, then you're useless, right? They don't want to do that, right? That can backfire, okay? It's a double-edged sword to put Trump on the ballot, right? And again, the smart Democrats know that. The stupid Democrats like Jasmine Crockett, not so much, okay? And again, this is why she would be the perfect leader, because she would just make all the wrong moves, okay? She would make it much easier for Republicans to win. But hey, let me know what you guys think. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Most importantly, share a Black conservative perspective. Peace.